The moment Captain Ava Morgan stepped off the transport plane, the dry wind of Nevada hit her face like a whisper of freedom. After 12 relentless months flying combat missions overseas, she was finally home. No more desert airstrips or hostile skies, just quiet. Or so she thought. The air base felt strangely deserted as she walked across the tarmac, duffel slung over her shoulder. A young enlisted man hurried past her, not offering a salute or even eye contact. That was her first warning sign. Something was wrong. Inside the barracks, the silence deepened. The usual buzz of televisions, chatter, and clinking metal was gone. Then, a flicker on a nearby screen caught her attention. A news anchor, pale, sweating, stammered through breaking news. Violence spreading rapidly, authorities urging people to stay inside, possible infection. The feed cut to static. Ava's spine stiffened. She dropped her bag and sprinted toward the operations center. Inside, 2 officers were watching grainy footage on the central monitor, civilians attacking each other like animals. Bloodied faces. Jerking movements. One woman's jaw unhinged in an inhuman way. "Is this a drill?" Ava asked. "No," one of the officers muttered. "This is real." The base commander entered, face drawn and tight. "Captain Morgan," he barked. "You're not on leave anymore. We've got outbreaks reported in 10 states. Seattle, Chicago, Atlanta. We think it's viral. Airborne transmission is unconfirmed. Lockdown protocols are active." Ava blinked. "What kind of virus makes people do that?" "We don't know. We lost contact with CDC 30 minutes ago. And now," he pointed to the darkening radar screen. "We've got dead air." "Dead air?" Ava's blood turned cold. No signals. No orders. No satellite uplinks. Nothing. Command's gone silent. A siren howled across the base. Red lights flared. Automatic weapons fire erupted somewhere near the east hangar. "Get your gear, Captain," the commander growled. "This base is compromised." Ava ran. Down the corridors, she passed more confusion than order. Soldiers arming themselves in silence, others weeping in corners. She retrieved her pistol, combat knife, and body armor from her locker in record time. As she turned the corner toward the armory, she heard the sound, a wet, gurgling growl. Not human. Not animal. Something in between. She raised her weapon just in time. Sergeant O'Reilly. Or at least, what used to be him. His skin was a sick gray-blue, veins blackened, eyes milky. His jaw hung loose, blood oozing from his mouth as he charged her with unnatural speed. Ava fired twice. The first shot hit his shoulder. Nothing. He didn't even flinch. The second went through his skull. He dropped. She exhaled, stunned. O'Reilly had trained under her. A good man. He didn't deserve that. More gunfire erupted outside. She raced to the communications center. Broken screens. Dead bodies. One radio still sputtering static. Then, a voice. "Repeat, this is Sergeant Valdez at Outpost Echo. If anyone can hear this, they're not human anymore. They don't stop. They don't think. They turn fast. Secure air transport. Do not let them bite you." The transmission cut. Ava stared at the radio. They turn fast. That confirmed it. She keyed into the base-wide intercom, praying the system still worked. "This is Captain Ava Morgan," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. All personnel, arm yourselves, regroup in the west hangar. We will extract whoever we can and survive this." No one answered. The line crackled and died. Outside, more screams. Ava looked to the distant mountains beyond the base. If this infection was spreading that fast, there was no telling what remained of the country she had served. But one thing was certain. She wasn't done fighting yet. Let me know when you're ready for part 2. Smoke curled through the cracks in the hangar's reinforced doors, turning the air thick and metallic. Ava's boots echoed off the concrete as she stepped inside, her sidearm drawn and senses locked in. The west hangar, once used for helicopter maintenance, was now a last stand. Only a handful had responded to her call, a mechanic named Juno, 2 MPs with rifles and nervous eyes, and Corporal Tyres, barely 20 but already bloodied. He looked like he'd seen ghosts. "They're fast," Tyres muttered. "I emptied an entire mag into 2 of them. One still kept coming." Ava checked the hangar's security cams. What she saw turned her stomach. The main gate was wide open, security fencing shredded. Shapes, dozens of them, sprinted across the tarmac, limbs flailing, mouths wide. Former soldiers. Airmen. Infected. Juno pointed to the corner of the hangar. "We've got 1 bird left. Black Hawk. Fuel cells are half full. It'll get us 40 miles out if we're lucky." Ava nodded. "We're taking it. Now." A muffled bang echoed outside, followed by the scraping of something across metal. One of the MPs shouted, "They're at the doors." "No more time." Ava turned to Tyres. "You fly?" He shook his head. "Maintenance crew. But I've been in enough cockpits to be useful." She motioned to the Black Hawk. "Start the pre-flight. Now." Juno and the MPs moved to secure the hangar's rear doors, welding what they could, dragging crates for makeshift barriers. But the infected were relentless. They pounded against the steel like rabid wolves, slamming bone and flesh into the surface with no sense of pain or hesitation. The hangar shook. Ava climbed into the pilot's seat, flicking switches, coaxing life into the aircraft. Tyres climbed in beside her, awkward but focused. Rotor blades began to spin. The familiar whine of startup was a comfort, a reminder of control, but it also drew attention. Screams outside rose in volume. The hangar doors buckled inward. "They're getting through!" Juno yelled. The doors finally collapsed. They came in like a wave, emaciated figures sprinting on shattered limbs, faces twisted by rage and hunger. One MP panicked, firing wildly, but was instantly swarmed. His screams were muffled beneath tearing flesh. Ava shouted, "Get in the damn bird!" Juno and Tyres dove in. Ava yanked the throttle. The Black Hawk lurched upward, rotors screaming, inches ahead of the infected clawing at the landing gear. They rose into the smoke-choked sky. From above, the devastation was clearer. The base was overrun. Fires burned in multiple hangars. Vehicles were flipped. Tiny figures fled across the tarmac, many caught before they reached safety. Ava clenched her jaw. "That's it. Airbase Alpha is gone. What the hell do we do now?" Tyres asked. "We fly until we find somewhere that's not on fire." They veered north. Below, the landscape looked quiet, deceptively so. Pockets of destruction scattered the desert, crashed convoys, burning outposts, empty highways littered with wreckage. Then the radio crackled. "Mayday, this is Sergeant Wells, survivors trapped in Ranger Outpost 17, requesting airlift or extraction, coordinates attached, please." Ava keyed the comms. "This is Captain Ava Morgan. I read you, Sergeant. How many survivors?" "6. But we're surrounded. We won't last long." Ava paused, weighing risk. Her instincts screamed no, they were low on fuel, wounded, exposed. But her conscience shouted louder. "We're inbound," she said. Tyres looked at her. "You sure?" "No. But we don't leave people behind." She turned toward the new coordinates. Within minutes, they saw it, a crumbling ranger station tucked into a canyon. Smoke billowed from its roof. Infected circled the base like jackals. Gunshots rang out from inside. Ava brought the chopper low, hovering just above the rooftop. "Juno, you're on the winch." The mechanic nodded, sliding open the side door. He lowered the harness as bullets cracked below. Figures began to climb, a woman first, then a man dragging a bleeding leg. Juno pulled them in one by one as Ava steadied the chopper against the buffeting wind. Then one infected launched from the rooftop, grabbing the cable. Its mouth snapped inches from the evacuee's boot. Juno didn't hesitate. He kicked the thing's head until it lost grip and fell, smashing against the rocky canyon floor. The final survivor scrambled in, gasping, eyes wild. Ava banked hard, rising from the canyon like a phoenix through smoke. They made it out, barely. As the sun set behind them, Ava looked to the wounded survivors huddled in the back. No one spoke. The sky had turned from blue to blood red. And the war had only just begun. The Black Hawk's engine sputtered as it cut across the twilight sky, dragging smoke and the stink of near-death behind it. Inside, the rotor's whine mixed with groans, not from the infected, but from the wounded evacuees crammed into the back. Ava held the controls tight, jaw clenched. "We're running on fumes." "I see nothing but sand and burnout stations," Juno muttered, leaning over the map on his lap. Nearest known green zone was Fort Dawson, but it went dark 3 days ago. Ava glanced at tires. "How bad's the fuel?" He checked the gauge, swallowed hard. 10 minutes. Tops. The chopper shook, coughing again. Ava scanned the horizon, then spotted it, a ridge of jagged hills, and nestled between them, a stretch of civilian structures mostly intact. A small town, half hidden by terrain and untouched by the fires. "Hold on," she said. "We're going in cold." The Black Hawk dipped sharply, blades screaming against the wind. Ava guided them low, trying to avoid drawing attention. Below, the town looked deserted, no movement, no bodies, no smoke. But that didn't mean it was safe. As she approached the edge of the main street, the chopper gave a final rattle. Ava slammed the skids down onto a wide rooftop, avoiding power lines and collapsing portions of the building below. Dust exploded around them. Engine dead. Fuel gone. "Everyone out," she barked. Juno jumped down first, rifle raised. Tires followed, helping the limping evacuees one by one. Ava was last, sweeping the area with her sidearm. The rooftop overlooked a central square, a gas station, some shops, a boarded-up pharmacy. There were no visible infected. But the silence was wrong. Too complete. It was the kind of quiet that came before screams. They barricaded the stairwell and set up a watch on the roof. Ava dropped to a crouch near the edge and surveyed the town through her binoculars. Still nothing. Then a faint light flickered, a candle, maybe, inside a corner building. She tapped Juno's arm. "There's someone alive in that house." "Could be bait," he muttered. "Could be help," Ava shot back. "And we're grounded." She turned to the group. "Stay here. I'll take Juno and tires. The rest of you hold this rooftop. If anything moves down there, you light it up." Tires hesitated. "What if they're already inside the town? Watching us?" Ava looked him straight in the eye. "Then we find out before they find us." They descended carefully, weapons raised. Boots soft on gravel. The streets were cluttered with abandoned cars, some riddled with bullet holes, others still running, long since out of gas. Dolls and broken phones lay scattered like offerings to the dead. They moved past a cracked bus stop where blood was smeared across the glass and handprints. Still no bodies. Juno whispered, "Where are the corpses?" Ava didn't answer. The building with the flicker was ahead, an old grocery store, windows boarded, a metal gate bent half open. Tires pushed through first. Inside, rows of emptied shelves sat in silence. A blanket was strung up near the frozen foods section, acting as a barrier. A voice called out, weak but steady, "That's close enough." Ava stopped. "We're not infected." The curtain shifted. A man emerged, probably in his 60s, eyes sharp behind cracked glasses. He held a crossbow aimed squarely at Ava's chest. "Military?" he asked. "Air Force," she replied. Crash landed. Looking for fuel. Shelter. The man lowered the weapon slowly. I'm Dr. Ezra Lane. Used to be town physician. Until everyone either ran, or changed. Tyres looked around. Where are the infected? Ezra's expression hardened. They come at night. Ava stepped forward. We have injured. Survivors. We need to refuel, regroup, and get out before they return. Ezra hesitated. There's fuel in the old water plant on the edge of town. But the place is crawling. You'll need help getting it. We've handled worse, Ava said. He nodded. Then you'll need this. He handed her a faded keyring. It opens the service hatch on the east wall. Quiet way in. As they turned to leave, Ezra stopped Ava. They're evolving. She frowned. What do you mean? They're faster. Smarter. Some don't even growl anymore. They wait. Lurk. They've started hunting in packs, like wolves. A cold knot tightened in Ava's chest. You've seen this? Ezra nodded. Survived it. Barely. Back on the rooftop, night was falling, and with it, shadows that moved too deliberately. Juno raised his rifle. We've got movement. South End. Figures appeared at the edge of town, not staggering like the undead usually did, but crouched, coordinated, crawling low behind cover. Ava raised her scope. One of them made eye contact. And smiled. The rooftop air turned still, too still. Ava adjusted her rifle sight. That thing down there had smiled. Not a twitch or reflex. A smile. Intentional. Human-like. Wrong. They're flanking, Juno muttered, eyes locked on shadows darting between cars. I count 6, Tyres whispered, crouched beside a sandbag pile. Maybe more behind the buildings. Ava scanned the rooftop. Everyone, quiet. Hold fire until they commit. No wasted ammo. She watched the lead creature crouch behind a burnt sedan, blackened skin peeling in strips. It peered up at them through slits of matted hair. Then it lifted one finger to its lips. A gesture. Did you see that? Juno asked. I saw, Ava replied. They're not just evolving. They're learning. Suddenly, a scream tore through the stillness. One of the survivors, a young evacuee, Sarah, was dragged back from the rooftop's edge. A hand. A blur. Then gone. Backstairs. Tyres shouted, rushing toward the barricade. Ava bolted after him. She reached the stairwell just in time to see 2 of the infected scaling the walls like spiders, teeth snapping, eyes glinting in the dark. One had Sarah's scarf dangling from its mouth. She raised her weapon, pop pop pop, 3 clean shots. One head exploded. The other slumped and fell. But more came. Dozens. Climbing, crawling, coordinated. They're breaching. Juno roared. Full defense. The rooftop became chaos. Gunfire cracked. Muzzles flashed. Screams rang out as survivors fought to hold the barricade. Ezra, the old doctor, fired his crossbow from a corner, reloading calmly with shaking hands. Ava grabbed Sarah, pulling her up from the stairwell landing. Blood stained her leg, but she was breathing. You're okay. Stay down, Ava said. Then, bang, Tyres was hit. One of the creatures pounced, knocking him back against the vent. Ava spun, firing. The thing snarled, lunged at her, until Juno tackled it off the roof. Both vanished over the edge. Juno! Ava screamed. She ran to the ledge, but saw only darkness below. No sound. Her breath caught, heart pounding. She turned back to Tyres. He was still conscious, clutching his side. I'm fine, he grunted. Just, bruised. Ava's ears rang from the gunfire. Then, suddenly, it stopped. Quiet again. Too quiet. She spun toward the stairwell, empty. The rooftop, cleared. The infected were gone. Vanished as quickly as they came. Ezra stepped forward, breathing hard. They tested us. What? That wasn't an attack, he said grimly. It was reconnaissance. They wanted to see how we fight. Ava helped Tyres sit. And Juno? Ezra glanced at the edge. If he's not already dead, they've taken him. Ava's jaw clenched. She wasn't losing another soldier. Not like this. I'm going after him. Tyres grabbed her arm. You go alone, you die alone. I'm not leaving him. Ezra cleared his throat. Then you'll need to go now. Before the pack settles in. There's a tunnel, old maintenance access, runs beneath the town. Leads to the water plant. They might have dragged him there. How do you know? I've been watching them. Studying. That plant, it's become their nest. Ava looked toward the darkened skyline. Smoke twisted lazily over the buildings. Somewhere out there, Juno was either fighting to stay alive, or already lost. She loaded her rifle, checked her sidearm, and tightened her boots. Tyres, hold this roof. Keep the others alive. If I'm not back by dawn, you fuel the chopper and get out. You're not serious. I am the pilot, she cut in. But right now, I'm the one they want. That makes me the best chance he's got. Ezra tossed her a flare. Light that when you find him. I'll trigger noise on the far side of town, draw some of them off. Ava nodded, then descended through the stairwell with Ezra close behind. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a collapsed shed. Ezra lifted the grate with surprising strength for a man his age. You sure you know where it leads? She asked. No, he admitted. But I know it's the only way in without being torn apart. She dropped in, boots echoing against wet concrete. The tunnel was narrow, the air thick with mildew and rot. Ava moved fast, every sense on high alert. Claw marks lined the walls. Bones lay scattered in the filth. And deeper still, she heard it, groaning. Not the mindless kind. The organized kind. Coordinated. Rhythmic. A new sound joined it. A voice. Faint. Raspy. Ava. She stopped cold. Juno, she called. No response. Then again, Ava. A whisper, almost mocking. She raised her rifle. I'm coming, she said to herself. And hell's coming with me. Ava crept forward, rifle raised, boots splashing through the damp tunnel floor. The whisper had sounded like Juno. But something about it, it wasn't right. Too calm. Too measured. She passed rusted pipes and collapsed beams, the air growing colder with every step. The darkness pressed against her skin like a second weight. Her flashlight flickered. Once. Then again. Of course, she muttered, slapping the casing. Ahead, the tunnel widened into a concrete chamber. Metal catwalks clung to the walls above a pool of stagnant water. And dangling from one of those catwalks, barely visible, was a shape. A person. She raised her light. Juno. He hung from a rusted hook, arms bound, blood trailing down his side. His eyes fluttered open. Ava, he croaked. It's a trap. Movement. Ava spun just in time to dodge a shadow lunging from the wall. She fired twice, hits. The creature tumbled into the water, splashing, shrieking. Two more crawled from above, howling like animals. She ducked behind a pillar, heart pounding. Why aren't they swarming? She whispered. It was calculated. Controlled. These weren't just mindless infected. They were watching. Testing. She moved fast, rolling across the platform and cutting the rope holding Juno. He crashed into her, groaning. Can you walk? Barely. She hoisted him up, pulling his arm across her shoulders. We move on 3, she said. 1, 2. growling echoed from every side. 3 more infected slid down the walls, eyes glowing in the dark. These weren't the slow kind. They moved with purpose, forming a loose circle. Ava tossed a flare. The red light flared to life, illuminating their faces, once human, now twisted with awareness. One snarled, and smiled. Ava fired first, dropping 2. Juno kicked another off the ledge. She dragged him down a side corridor, kicking open a service door and slipping inside just as a horde slammed into it from the other side. They braced it shut with a steel beam. For now. Breathing hard, Ava glanced around. They were in an old control room. Cracked monitors lined the walls, dust-covered and useless. But in one corner, an emergency terminal blinked faintly, green. Still powered. Ava crossed to it. The screen displayed schematics of the facility. An old water plant, just like Ezra said. But now, it was more. Dozens of red dots moved on the map. Juno looked over her shoulder, wincing. They've made this a hive. And we're in the center of it. Ava scanned the layout. One exit, she said. But it's past what looks like a holding chamber. Juno coughed. Holding for what? Before she could answer, the control room door rattled. She grabbed a wrench from the floor, jammed it between the handles. We move now. They followed the map through maintenance corridors. Ava held Juno's weight with one arm, rifle in the other. She could hear them, above, below, beside, skittering through ducts and grates. Chittering. Communicating. They were being herded. Something's off, she whispered. They're not trying to kill us. They want us somewhere. The hallway ended in a massive steel door. Ava tried the panel, green light. Unlocked. She pushed it open slowly. The chamber inside was cavernous. High ceilings. Blood-slick walls. And in the center, a cluster of hanging bodies. Some alive. Some not. All suspended from the ceiling like meat in a freezer. Ava gagged. And then she saw it. The thing. Tall. Towering. 7 feet of misshapen muscle and decay, eyes white, jaw exposed. It didn't lunge. It watched. Silent. Calculating. She raised her rifle. The creature cocked its head. It understood. Juno groaned. The creature's gaze snapped to him. No, Ava whispered. You want me, don't you? The thing took a step forward. She fired, 3 rounds into its chest. It barely flinched. She dragged Juno behind a column, reloading. The monster let out a guttural sound, not a roar. Not a scream. A signal. Doors opened. More infected poured in. But they didn't attack. They formed a ring around Ava and Juno, corralling them into the center of the room. The monster stepped closer. Ava's flare. She dug it from her vest, struck it. Light exploded in her hand, bathing the room in red. She tossed it high, up into the air vent above. Then she pulled a grenade from Juno's belt. This ends here. Wait, he croaked. She yanked the pin and tossed it. The explosion rocked the chamber, smoke and fire filling the space. Ava grabbed Juno and ran, ducking through the chaos, past the stunned infected, through a broken gate toward daylight. Behind them, the monster howled. Wounded. Furious. But alive. As they stumbled into the morning sun, Ava raised her radio. Ezra. Light the distraction. We're coming out hot. The blast behind them rumbled like a storm. Concrete cracked. Pipes shrieked. A shockwave chased Ava and Juno as they burst through the exit, stumbling into open daylight. Smoke poured from the tunnel mouth. The forest beyond the old facility stood still, unnaturally still. Ezra's voice crackled through the radio. Explosion confirmed. You two still breathing? Barely, Ava coughed, dragging Juno toward a half-collapsed outpost nestled against the tree line. But that thing's not dead. Not even close. Then it knows you're a threat now. As they reached the outpost, gunfire echoed from the treetops. Snipers, posted exactly where Ava had ordered. The team lit up several infected pouring from the tunnel, but the rest pulled back. They're not chasing, Ava noted, breathing heavily. They're regrouping. Inside the outpost, Ezra met them with a med kit and urgency. Juno was pale, blood soaking through his shirt. Ava peeled it back, jagged bite across his ribs. Did it get infected into the wound? She asked quietly. Juno stared back, silent. Ezra didn't speak. He just handed her a syringe. The antiviral. I'll take my chances, Juno muttered. Too late for pride, Ava said, plunging the needle into his thigh. As he winced, Ezra gestured her aside. You saw it? It looked at me like it knew me. Like it was reading me. Ezra nodded grimly. Intelligence. High level. We've been calling it the Overseer. We picked up patterns weeks ago, infected behavior too organized to be random. It's evolving them. Training them. You knew and didn't say anything? We weren't sure until you came out alive. You proved it. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Ava looked up. Not thunder, helicopter blades. A low-flying chopper skimmed the treetops, then circled. Ezra grinned. Extraction's here. They're pulling us to Haven. Haven's real? She asked. Not a myth? He handed her a sealed envelope. Your next assignment. They'll brief you there. You're part of something bigger now, Ava. This wasn't just survival. It was recon. As the team boarded the chopper, Ava sat beside Juno, who was semi-conscious now. The sedative had kicked in, but his fever was rising. Hold on, she whispered to him. As the chopper lifted off, she glanced down one last time at the facility. And that's when she saw it. The trees moved. Not from wind. From them. Dozens, no, hundreds, of infected, emerging from hidden ravines, underground tunnels, and forest hollows. Not shambling. Not wild. Marching. Organized. The Overseer stepped into the clearing, craning its pale face to the sky. And smiled. They reached Haven as the sun dipped below the mountains. It wasn't a city, it was a fortress. Reinforced walls, solar fields, watchtowers. Survivors bustled between buildings. Children played. The undead hadn't touched this place. Not yet. Ava was escorted to command. The woman waiting inside wore a patchless uniform. Eyes sharp. Voice like steel. Colonel Reyes, she introduced. Welcome to the Resistance. I wasn't aware we were organized enough to resist. We weren't, Reyes said. Until now. You and your squad survived contact with an Alpha class. We've only seen 2 of those before. Both encounters ended with 0 survivors. Ava leaned forward. You said Alpha class. There's more than one? Reyes tapped a monitor. Footage played, grainy satellite clips of similar monsters in different regions. Leading, directing. Converting. This isn't just a viral outbreak. It's a hostile evolution. They're adapting to us faster than we're adapting to them. But you wounded it. That makes you our most valuable soldier. Ava stared at the footage. It was learning from me. Testing me. Reyes nodded. We believe the Overseer you encountered is central to their command structure. Kill it, and the region destabilizes. Ava folded her arms. You want me to go back? Not yet. First, we study it. Understand its patterns. You'll lead the recon. She glanced at the door. And Juno? He'll recover, Reyes said. If the virus doesn't spread. That night, Ava stood on the wall, watching distant lightning flicker over the valley. Her thoughts drifted to the people she'd lost. The missions that blurred into each other. the city she'd fought for. Burned for. But this was different. This wasn't just a war for land. It was a war for the future. She looked down at her rifle. Then out toward the dark horizon. "They're organizing," she whispered. "Then so will we." Behind her, a scout jogged up the stairs. "Captain," he said breathlessly. "You need to see this." She followed him to the main screen inside command. A live drone feed showed the facility from earlier. But now, it was transformed. Barriers. Nest-like structures. Fires. Dozens of infected working in silence, moving in rhythm. At the center, the overseer stood atop a broken tower, arms raised like a prophet. And behind it, a second figure stepped into view. Taller. Heavier. Wearing what used to be a military uniform. Still bearing a rank tag. Reyes leaned forward. "My God." Ava clenched her fists. "They've got a general now." The plan was simple on paper. Ava had led missions before: stealth recon, extraction, elimination. But never like this. This wasn't a battlefield. This was a nest. At dawn, she stood in the hangar, staring at the aerial schematics. The facility the overseer now controlled had become a fortress of infected. Dozens of surveillance drones had been shot down in recent hours. Yes, shot. The infected had learned to use weapons, rudimentary but terrifying. "They're mimicking us," Ava muttered to Reyes. "The more they watch, the faster they adapt." Reyes nodded grimly. "That's why this recon team is all handpicked. No comms, no drones. Just you, a 3-person squad, and old-school infiltration gear." Ava glanced across the hangar. Her team was already prepping. Juno, patched up, bruised, but standing. Pale, but stable. Mia, sniper, ex-ranger, nerves like wire. And Jonah, a civilian-turned-scout. No formal training. Just speed, silence, and guts. Ava pulled her vest tight. "We go quiet. We go fast. In and out. No heroics." She gave Juno a hard look. "That includes you." He gave a weak grin. "What's the fun in that?" They set out by noon, cloaked by the ridgeline. Their approach followed a ravine flanked by dead trees and the stench of rotting leaves. The infected rarely came this way, too narrow, too quiet. Too perfect for an ambush. At the halfway point, they stopped. Jonah raised a fist, signaling halt. Ava crouched beside him. "What is it?" He pointed. "Trip line." She followed his gaze and saw it, thin wire, stretched low between rocks. A crude grenade trap, but lethal. "Booby traps," Mia muttered. "They're laying traps now." "Someone's teaching them," Ava whispered. They bypassed it and continued, slower now, more alert. The world around them grew eerily still, no birds, no wind, just tension. They reached the perimeter by nightfall. And there it was. The nest. Where once had been a derelict government facility now stood something almost ritualistic. Makeshift walls formed from metal, cars, and bones. Massive torches burned blue in oil drums. Patterns were drawn in ash across the ground, symbols, almost tribal. At the center, the tower. And atop it, the overseer. But tonight, it wasn't alone. The larger figure, infected but disturbingly human, stood beside it, issuing commands to other alphas below. This one wore old military gear, badly torn, but still bearing the remnants of rank. General Mason. Ava recognized him from intel photos, thought dead in the first weeks of the outbreak. Now, reanimated, but thinking. Coordinating. They kept his mind, Juno said quietly. Or part of it. More than a horde, Mia whispered. This is a command structure. Ava's eyes narrowed. Take photos. Record movement patterns. We'll need every detail. As Jonah adjusted the long-range lens, Mia whispered, Ava. Right flank. A group of infected moved silently near the far side of the clearing. But they weren't shambling, they were patrolling. Alert. Scanning. Ava stiffened. They've got sentries. We're not getting out the same way we came, Juno muttered. Then we go under, Ava said. Back entrance tunnel. Facility schematics show a crawl shaft under the maintenance shed. They moved quickly and low, skirting the edge of the clearing until they reached the ruined shed. Inside, it smelled of rust and oil. The hatch was still there, welded decades ago, but fragile now. Ava pried it open, and they slipped in one by one. Below was tight, pitch black, and crawling with the scent of damp earth and mold. They moved in silence, flashlights off, fingers grazing the wall. They emerged in a subchamber once used for power regulation. The place hummed faintly with residual energy. Old generators. Solar panels still feeding low voltage into the dead walls above. Then came a whisper. No. Not a whisper. A voice. She's here. Ava froze. She turned, nobody behind her had spoken. Juno was pale. Mia's hand hovered near her sidearm. Jonah had his back to the wall. Then, suddenly, movement. From the far end of the hall, a figure approached. Slowly. Confidently. The overseer. It shouldn't have known they were there. But it did. You came back, it said, voice unnaturally calm. Curious. Brave. Foolish. Ava stepped forward. How are you speaking? It tilted its head. Your mind, interesting. Strong memories. Rich with loss. So easy to understand now. Juno raised his rifle. Back away. The overseer ignored him. You came to study us. But it is we who study you. Behind them, the sound of footsteps, multiple. Too many. Trapped. Ava's fingers curled around a flashbang on her belt. One more step, she growled. But it was already too late. The chamber behind them was filled, alphas. Watching. Not attacking. Waiting. The overseer smiled. Welcome to the future. Ava dropped the grenade. Blinding white. They ran. Ready for part 8? In the final chapter, Ava must escape the nest and confront the horrifying truth behind humanity's last stand. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll deliver a powerful, satisfying conclusion. Ava's ears rang from the flashbang. The white burst had bought them seconds, no more. She staggered through the blinding haze, dragging Jonah by his vest as he scrambled to his feet. Behind her, Mia was shouting, her voice distant, muffled. Juno covered their retreat, firing into the cloud of infected figures who didn't flinch, just stared. They didn't chase us, Jonah gasped as they slipped back into the maintenance tunnel. That was the point, Ava said, voice cold. They wanted us to run. They emerged into the woods half an hour later, breathless, bleeding, alive, but shaken. The overseer had known they were coming. General Mason, once a war hero, was now their strategist. The infected were evolving faster than anyone imagined. Back at the ridge, the emergency evac flare painted the sky red. A chopper waited a few clicks out, hidden beyond the tree line. Ava slung an arm under Juno's shoulder as he limped. You're not dying today, she said. Not when we've come this far. As the thump of rotor blades grew louder, Ava turned to look back one last time. Through the haze of smoke and dusk, she saw it again, that tower, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. The overseer was building something. And it wasn't just a nest. 2 days later, Ava stood before the High Command bunker's war table. Video feeds flickered with heat signatures, maps were littered with red zones, and across every screen, the same conclusion was clear. The infected were organizing. Juno sat nearby, arm in a sling, eyes heavy. Mia stood across the room, silent but alert. Jonah had returned to the scout division, volunteering to run new recon routes immediately. Brigadier Lonsdale looked from screen to screen, then turned to Ava. We've lost 7 bases in the last 72 hours. Not overrun, abandoned. Like the infected knew when and where we'd pull out. They do, Ava said simply. The Overseer reads us. Predicts us. It's not acting alone anymore, it's got command. Mason's dead. His body isn't, Ava said. And something inside it is still thinking. Lonsdale's jaw tightened. So what do you propose, Major? We destroy the tower. Cut off their communication. Decapitate their command. You want to go back in? Ava nodded. This time with a real team. A real strike. We go in hard, and we finish it. There was silence around the table. Then Lonsdale spoke. Approved. 3 days later, Operation Black Dawn was launched. Ava led the 12-person strike team through the darkness. No drones, no signals, just old maps, memory, and boots on the ground. They moved like shadows, dressed in stealth suits that hid their heat signatures. In the distance, the tower loomed again, only now it crackled with energy. They'd seen flashes of electricity rippling along its surface. They're trying to send something, Juno whispered beside her. Or receive it, Ava said. They move fast. This time, no surprises. They bypassed traps, avoided sentries, and reached the tower's base by midnight. Explosives were set along the foundation, enough to bring the whole structure down. But before the last charge was placed, Ava felt it again. That presence. The Overseer was near. And it wasn't hiding. It stepped from the shadows behind the tower. No longer a shrouded figure, it had changed. Its flesh had hardened, features human but grotesquely symmetrical, like a mockery of perfection. Its voice echoed across the clearing. You destroy what you fear. But fear cannot kill progress. Ava stepped forward. I don't fear you, she said. The Overseer tilted its head. Liar. You fear becoming me. It lunged. Ava fired. The bullet struck the Overseer in the chest, but it didn't fall. It stumbled, hissed, then charged. The squad opened fire, rounds tearing into it from all sides. Still, it kept coming, until Juno flanked it, planted an explosive on its back, and rolled away. The blast took half its torso. Ava didn't wait. She ran up the tower stairs, planting the last charge at the core relay, the place where all their energy signals pulsed outward. She keyed the detonator. And waited. The Overseer, broken but alive, crawled toward her through fire and blood. You can't stop what's coming. Ava stared down at it. I don't need to stop what's coming. She pressed the trigger. I just need to stop you. The world exploded in flame. When Ava woke, the sky was glowing orange. She was alive. Somehow. Covered in debris, coughing blood, but alive. Juno and Mia pulled her from the rubble. Distant infected screeches were fading, lost, confused. Disconnected. The tower was gone. Its signal, dead. Back at base, word spread fast. The infected were retreating in clusters. Disorganized. Weaker. The Overseer's mind link was broken. For now. Ava sat alone later that night, staring at the stars. A nurse had wrapped her ribs, patched the burns on her arm, but her thoughts were far from the pain. She remembered her oath. To serve, to protect, to defend. She'd done it once in uniform. Now she did it for all humanity. The war wasn't over. But for the first time in years, humanity had a fighting chance. And Ava, the soldier, the survivor, wasn't done yet. Not even close. White heavy checkmark complete. Let me know if you'd like a YouTube description, thumbnail prompt, or cinematic intro script next.